Hi, and welcome to Focal Point. My name is Carla Green. I am the director of the Regional Prevention Center at the Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And we're going to talk today about some of the things that are going on in Wyandotte County that are services provided to our students that help them to become more successful in life. And with me today, I have Guy Ellison, who's going to tell us about one of those programs and about all of the things that he's doing to benefit our students. So welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's start with the Willa Gill Center. I know you said that there are a lot of things that you're doing in the community, and I kind of want to focus on that today. Tell me about some of the things that you have going on there.
Well, I think most importantly, in the community, I think we need to, a primary focus always needs to be improving quality of life. And in the urban core, I think that's where, of course, we have most of the issues occurring, what we call barriers to being successful as a parent, being successful as an employee, and those types of things in your community, which of course always increases the economic impact negatively or positively. So in addition to the other things that I'm doing or we're doing as an organization, we felt that it was important to have more of an outreach to go to the people. So that was where the idea of serving at the Willa Gill Center originated from. And what we do there, we offer a myriad of services, I would say, but primarily we deal with a legal court advocacy piece. We work closely with the municipal court in Kansas City, Kansas, primarily with future plans to work with the both the adult probation and the community corrections in the district court. But specifically at the Willa Gill Center, we deal the court advocacy. We deal with transitional housing. We deal with employment, workforce development, employment. We work closely with workforce partnerships in that arena, also. And so those three things primarily is what we concentrate on at the Willa Gill Center as far as in the overall scope of what is reentry and improving quality of life and making it better for the individual and the community from an overall standpoint.
And let me ask you this, kind of backtracking a little bit. With those services that you offer, what were you seeing in the community that led you to believe that there were some additional services that we needed?
More of a misconception. I found that people in the urban core, I found that there was a misconception on what they can do to approach their issues in a problem-solving aspect to become productive citizens. They think once they're in the municipal court system, for instance, getting a misdemeanor ticket, and they have a total misconception in how it can be handled with or without a lawyer, and then because of their fear and miseducation, they omit appearing in court. Then you have the warrant. Then you're digging a hole for yourself. Then you have the increased fine. Where if you approach the problem head on, so I find that the misconception, especially in that arena, creates a fear that just stops them from making progress.
So how do you find me? I got a ticket. It's a misdemeanor a year ago. Didn't pay the fine, didn't go to court, so now there's probably a bench warrant out for me. How do I know that your service is there?
Actually, we take an on-hands approach. I have a colleague that I work very closely with that I've kind of given him that area of responsibility. We work closely with the municipal court probation office, and we work closely in the area of actually being in the courtroom. We have very close personal relationships that I'm happy to say are highly credible with Judge Ryan and Judge Roberts in the municipal court itself. We actually take the client by the hand and walk them through whatever the process is. And since we've had a chance to work with several clients, the type of credibility that we've built, lets the judge have more leeway, whether it be rescinding the warrant, coming up with a payment plan according to what you're making, what you can pay per month, community service hours. We monitor those, and we provide a community service piece. So those types of things to give the judge a type of leeway in lieu of any kind of actual jail time has been a great benefit to the community.
Okay. Tell me about another service that you have at Willow Gill.
The workforce development and employment piece, which of course a lot of the highest percentage of people are interested in because of our economic times. The workforce development and employment piece, we provide a computer literacy piece in partnership with the workforce partnerships. We actually do the on-hands job coaching while they're at the workforce partnerships and participating in whatever workshops for self-improvement, the actual job search, the actual computer navigation, and all of those type of things that are, again, for a lot of the older working population, depending on when they graduated from high school and so forth, they also have a fear of the computer. And so, and as we know, most of the 95% of employment searches are conducted online in the initial steps. You very seldom go to the actual business anymore in the initial step, and then you very seldom get a interview personally at first. Normally, it's on the phone. So we work with them in the interviewing skills, the resume skills, and that type of thing in line with workforce partnerships. But we actually give them it's like a mentoring, coaching type of situation.
So are those services that you have staff who are providing those services, or are you reaching out to community partners?
Both. We work along with the job coaches that the workforce partnerships already has on staff, and then we also have some 3 volunteers that give their time, and then I do it when I have time. But normally it's worked out in the schedule where we'll say this particular staff person is gonna be at workforce partnership for this block of time, and it's only the correlation between Wilhelmina Gill and workforce partnerships is like a block and a half. So it makes it easy to hop over there if we need to, and it makes it easy for the client who doesn't have perhaps transportation, who some of them even have issues with bus passes. So it makes it quite convenient in the workforce development and employment piece.
Okay.
With them. Yeah.
So you've given me the tools that I need. You have helped me understand how to navigate through a computer system, and you've taught me how to complete an application and those things. I'm ready for my interview. What are some things that you are teaching me about that interview process? Is it okay for me to show up in jeans and tennis shoes for my interview? Things you're laughing, and I'm thinking about things as simple as the voicemail, the message that's on my cell phone. When people call me, what's the song that's playing? Things like that. Are those instructions that you give them also?
Absolutely. Now, I want to just rewind just a little bit. There's a couple of pieces. Wilhelmina Gill Center has their own voicemail box set up, and so we teach them to put the proper recording, a professional type recording on the voicemail. I also work with another gentleman in partnership, IBSA of Topeka. He has a partnership with Google. So we have Google phone cards where it's actually a permanent number for that person, but they don't have to have a landline and a designated address. So we have those available that as a person escalates towards actually getting out there and doing the job search, and then to get back to your question of hygiene, proper attire, some speech work if that's necessary. And we work on getting them to relax, because a lot of times the anxiety can overshadow the actual person. You don't see the actual person come out because of their, again, that so-called fear or anxiety that occurs in all of us at some point when we get into a situation that's uncomfortable for us. So that's kind of where we try to go with aiding the male or female to be productive.
So then, where do you find most of those clients?
We do it on a first come, first served basis. We don't discriminate. It doesn't matter whether you're black, green, purple, white, because in our economic times, the public is crying out, and so it has to start somewhere. So and a lot of that is built into the faith-based thing, faith-based piece, as far as reaching out, giving back to the community. And that's actually how my vision started. I'm a lifelong Wyandotte County resident. I went to elementary, junior high, high school. Even took some classes here at the KCKCC at a point, and even some postgraduate courses early on. So giving back is what we all need to do, I believe, because they say everyone teach one, and if everyone taught one, then I think as our urban core and our outlying area, Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County as a whole, would be on a better track.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to come back in a few minutes. We'll take a short break, and then we will continue our conversation.
They said heroin would be the best high I ever had.
Sweetheart? Hey, sweetie, listen to me.
They said heroin would be the best high I ever had. They lied. Find out the truth about heroin. drugfreeworld.org.
Welcome back to Focal Point. We've been talking to Guy Ellison about some of the things that he is doing right here in Wyandotte County to help support our citizens. And we're going to switch over just a little bit. We've talked about a lot of the services that you provide for adults, for older adults typically. What about the services that you are providing that are specific to our youth?
Specific to youth, we want to bridge the services that we have already in development and are doing and in development to the juvenile side and juvenile corrections. And we work with community and schools for a year and a half at Fairfax Alternative School in a mentoring type environment with males and females at that school. I had a close relationship with Rufus Black, who was a principal of that school, and they closed it this past school year. And I don't know whether they mainstream those kids back into the mainstream schools or they have another alternative site. But we began working with them a year and a half ago, and what I found is a lot of the youth just need somebody. And because of maybe the pain that they've not only the pain that they've gone through or going through maybe in a family sense or something like that, but also the pain they're going through and what we usually call growing pains also. And then of course when they get to the teenage cycle, everything is crazy at that point. And because I've even looked into some of the research that's been done on their brain chemicals and how different they are in that age and those type of things. And so what we want to do is bridge that into a faith-based and a peer mentoring type environment for the so-called at-risk child. They're all at risk, but some are more at risk. And so we want to bridge that to the faith-based side also, and working with a couple of different groups. Mr. Adrian Roberson, with his ministry and his piece he's doing through the sports side. We also want to work with New Beginnings. They have a youth program which is called Kingdom Champions, and we want to approach the children from a faith-based side in a education and prevention sense also, and kind of let them develop their life skills, with a faith-based guide, ongoing from age groups 5 to 7 up through the teenage years. And we feel like if we can bring more children in to that scope, we can begin to change some of the lives in the so-called more of the at-risk child, and then also let whoever the peer mentors may be, let them realize how blessed they are, and even want to give back more to the community, in a sense, instead of the first thing, when I get out of school, I'm getting out of Kansas City, where and then you lose more of the talented leader and developing future leaders. You lose those kids to other communities when they can have a huge effect right here in the urban core, and then that way, and I go back to the quality of life. That way, more then as they're becoming young adults and into full adulthood, they're remaining in the community. They're giving back. They're applying their individual talents to bring those at-risk kids along and continually. And so therefore, your economic impact is greater. They're buying the cars. They're buying the houses in the same place they were raised, and so it works in a big smooth wheel. But the job is too big for one person or one organization or one church. My mantra is "Together we can," and I didn't take that from President Obama. Yes, we can. And that's always been my feeling in my heart, that we have to work together, regardless of denomination, regardless of color, regardless of economic well to be, so to speak. we have to find a median and maintain a medium to have a real impact. And I mean, and I'm not putting down the organizations that are already doing great work, but it cannot be done by yourself. I know I was saying to you, Ms. Green, earlier that, and I look to other sources with regard to building communities, and use some models ongoing, not to copy the model, but I think it's important to customize it to that youth. Whatever that model is, you take it, then you shape it to customize it to the individual, and I think that's where you get the most positive effect going forward.
Okay. You mentioned at-risk students, and we throw that term at-risk around everywhere, and it means different things to different people in different communities. And you also mentioned specifically those students who have been in the past referred to Fairfax. What were some of the behaviors that were common among that population of students? Anger probably stood out as the biggest issue, and the reasons why the child was angry. And normally, and I think the highest percentage of kids, it was because they had an issue with a parent or both parents. Like the son and single mothers is a high number in the community. And a lot of the children were displaying anger because their dad was not in their life, and so that's kind of where. And then the females. This was the male side. The females were angry for the same reason, because their dad wasn't in their life. But then they would seek out male companionship, often the wrong way. Then you have the issues where you get into teen pregnancy, you get into teen homelessness, you get into those types of issues where it's putting more work on the people like us who are giving and are trying to reshape a community. And so anger is the biggest thing. And if I think we can work on the anger and the issues, that the cause of the anger, and let them know that it's really not that bad. You just have to seek out. There are other avenues that you can take, that you can seek to be successful. So those are direct supports for our students. What about the parents of those students? Or, as you mentioned, single parenting, in our area is fairly high, especially single mothers. So what support can you offer me as a single mother to help me with a 16, 17-year-old son or daughter?
Well, we work closely, I'll say, in partnership with the Keeler's Women's Center for Females. We work closely with AYS, Associated Youth Services, but directly we try to assign mentors. We work closely with in the school setting. We work closely with the teachers and try to funnel the children into services that would be beneficial and not a waste of time, and really something they don't need, and just try to determine. I mentioned customize. And try to make a determination on what is going to be the most effective now. And I would say you have to start somewhere. So so we start with them and in that piece, and also try to have an ongoing case management piece. But I find the biggest thing is always trust and relationship. And I feel like if you could develop a rapport, we call it rapport, or relationship with the young person, and once they have confidence in you, you have to do what you say you're going to do too, because they've heard that too many times. I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to make this happen for you, and then it never happens, and so they continue to to build on what is already a negative and angry attitude, and so you got to be accountable. And I think if you can do that and begin to build the trust, then the relationship grows, and then you begin to have a real positive effect.
Okay. Yeah, I will say I am impressed with the things that you're doing in the community. And what impresses me most is that you recognize that you can't do it by yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're all about at the Regional Prevention Center, is helping our community to understand that there's not one agency, one group of individuals who can do it alone. It takes all of us. It takes our faith community and our health and health professionals and law enforcement and government. It takes all of us working together if we're going to bring about that positive change.
Absolutely.
And so that I think that's a critical piece that you've managed to work out. And you did mention Debbie earlier and the programs that she has going, and I'm going to try to twist her arm and see if I can invite her back for an episode of Focal Point, and see if we can talk more about some of the things that she's doing in the community also.
Okay.
And thank you
You're
so much for joining us.
Wonderful being here.
And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Focal Point.